Howdy folks, Doc here with Last Best Tool, and Project Farm did a video recently about these little tiny high RPM, I guess, air dusters. Some work as vacuums as well, and I had not heard of any of the brands that were tested, and that's because there's probably some uniform design that's then shared across a lot of different companies. But anyway, I did get a hold of this GOOLOO one, and I've had great luck with the GOOLOO brand, like their car battery jumper boxes, battery tenders, things like that. So this is their F1 Air Duster, 160,000 RPM. Now on the Project Farm channel, there were several of these that, did as they performed as advertised, but there were also a handful that were way off. And one thing I noticed about this that just I'll throw out there is that it has several different settings. In fact, it has 4 different modes. The first gear, they call them different gears, although I bet there's some kind of electronic gearing, is 35,000 RPMs. Second gear is 50,000 RPMs. Third gear is 70,000 RPMs. And then there is like an overdrive, or they call it overspeed, which is 160,000. And that's where that number comes from. But you access the 160,000 a different way than the others. So what I was wondering with the Project Farm video is when he had some that seemed just vastly underperforming, if perhaps there was another way you could get into that high speed that wasn't being accessed. But anyway, so why do you have something like this? Well, good question. I immediately thought of these. These Giottos, they're the old school, I guess, way of kind of spraying air on something if you're cleaning things up. And there's a whole bunch of people, it's probably coming from more the phone and computer fixing arenas, that say absolutely do not blow air on anything. Well, it turns out, grab my camera here, way back, sorry I set it off to the side, that when you're working with something like this, this is what is we got on a 1428 here. You can't just get a vacuum cleaner and vacuum the lens. So what we would do is you'd clean off all the dust and everything first. Well, I could easily use something like this to blast it all off, and then go in with maybe a brush if necessary. You might not want to do that on the inside. We are always leery of trying to blast stuff out, but if you do it lightly, it works great. However, there are a lot of times and places where you do want to blow the material away and not suck it up. One thing is if I'm doing anything with small parts, and I've got dust and metal shavings and stuff like that, and if I want to kind of clear it off, that I do use some sort of a blower, because that way there's no risk of vacuuming up some small parts and thinking, did I just vacuum something or not? Instead, it all gets piled up and I can sort it if I need to. So let's take a closer look at this guy. There were several tests that Project Farm ran. I will test a couple of those, but first I thought I'd show you what this thing actually is. Looks like this. There is a light on the bottom, I guess, and you can get I guess an emergency if you happen to be somewhere and needs that. It is USB-C rechargeable. Fairly stout design. It's kind of dense, so I assume well made. It has 2 sides, and both have magnets on it. You can kind of feel that. That's because you can put these magnetic caps on there. The magnets here connect to these screws. And anyway, if you want, you can go to kind of more of an inflation nozzle. This thing is a silicone nozzle that you can add to either one, I guess, to smooth things out in case you don't want to bump something. Larger diameter one here. And a vacuum. And you want to put the vacuum, if you turn this thing on, the air comes out of this side, the side with the wires, so I can put the vacuum on this side, and now I've got a way. Now I do have that vacuum should I want to vacuum instead of blow air. So let's take a look at a couple of tests. One is they Project Farm push down on a scale just to see. I'm going to use this nozzle here. Put on the right side here, and you can see the grams. That's the low setting. I'm going to go ahead and excuse me, that's the low setting. I don't know what they had for a distance. That's the 160,000 right there. Now, as far as wind speed, that's the low. You can see. I don't know if you can try to figure out how to get that in focus there. 27, these are miles per hour. 43 on the second. And then I've gone off my scale. It started to go beyond. But anyway, fairly well designed. Once you get the I/O, double click to turn it on, and then click to go through those high, medium, low. Long pause or long click, hold to shut it off, and then if you hold that, that's how you get to the 160,000. It doesn't stay on. And that would be the strongest. So let me do that again. And say 118. Let's try it with this one. 102 there. 17 obviously because it's got a small opening. 113. So you can see with nothing on it, that has the highest force. But anyway, so there it is, the GOOLOO F1 Air Duster. Cool idea. If you don't have one, and all of a sudden you start thinking about needs. I do see some people making jokes about these, like you can use it as a leaf blower or to blow off snow. The answer is yes, but on a micro scale, like a desktop, a plant. You know, maybe if you've got some, you're working and you've got some tools with some snow on them, you could blow that off if you want. But what I really like about it is for electronics, cleaning things off, keyboards. Yes, you can force things in, but sometimes vacuuming also creates some issues. And it does come in a decent box for keeping everything organized here. I want to drop it back in just like that. Vacuum part comes off, and then however all this fits back in here, I don't remember. I guess maybe that one goes on the bottom. There we go. So you can get it all back in and then save it. And with that, dock out.